Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new year, 2023. Hello Claire, we've got that far.
Hi JP, yes, I can't believe it's 2023.
It comes around so quickly, doesn't it? A quick shout out to our sponsors who have been with us since we started, TJ Flutes. You can find them on socials at TJ Flutes and on Facebook at Trevor James Flutes, or give them some flute love by having a quick browse on their brand website, tjflutes.com. Did you have a good Christmas, Claire?
I did, had a very good Christmas. As always, too much eating, drinking, too many dogs.
It really is chaotic, isn't it? When the family descend, you have a whole year where we've both got grown-up children who've migrated off into their own little universes. And then when they come back, they revert to type, don't they? They revert to being children, not 30-year-old adults.
Yeah, I keep telling myself that Christmas is just a roast dinner. I shouldn't get too upset about it, but every year I do.
I like that. I wish we'd recorded this before for our Christmas podcast. That'd been a great title, wouldn't it? Christmas is just a roast dinner. But no, don't you find that when they were growing up, I don't know what in your household, but I used to clear the tables and put all the dishes into the dishwasher. But as they've grown older, they've just sort of sit there and let me and my good lady wife Jane sort of carry on doing the jobs we used to do when they were growing up.
Yeah. But to be honest, I don't really mind that. I think it's quite nice to have everyone home as they can be home.
Yeah, absolutely. A brand new year, Claire. 2023. I mean, I'm not a great one for resolutions. I never have been, because I don't know about you, but I used to break them very, very early on, so couldn't see the point. However, as a musician and as a teacher and really as an individual, planning is always an important thing in life, and to enable us to sort of have measurables. And what better than at the start of January to put some plans, some overviews in place?
Yeah, so really today it's about sort of, for us, musings or sound bites to help create inspiration and goals for 2023. It's quite funny because I was talking to my daughter Eleanor about this, because I was trying to think, saying something, we do this each year, we do a new year. And we probably say sort of the same sort of things, but with a different narrative. She had the idea of anti-resolutions.
Oh, yes.
So I'm going to talk about anti-resolutions. I think Eleanor is my unofficial publicist. That's what she does as a job. She's a publicist. She's very, very good. She's got great ideas. So I think the gist of it was, resolutions don't always bring you joy. Maybe we should think of some anti-ones. So I suppose it's, rather than fretting or aiming for some unachievable goals or goals that are linked to your career, maybe make goals that will bring you joy. I suppose it depends on the person, because there are obviously some very serious career-minded musicians who obviously need to sort of have a plan, which we can talk about in a minute. But I know for a lot of us, we make these plans of, right, I'm going to learn a particular piece, or I'm going to pass this particular exam. And if you don't, it means that you're not content and you're not happy. So I was thinking that maybe find a flute activity that's fun, and then be content and happy to be able to play and create music. I'm talking from a personal perspective here, because I would love to be playing and creating flute music or flute playing, but be content with what you've got. We don't always have to be striving for something else, and because often the something else is out of our reach. So I said, it's a great time to aim for better grades or difficult piece, but maybe once a month or once a week, just play for fun. So I was thinking, what if for your one bit of space, one day, a week or a month, you just didn't have any sheet music, no music, just play, improvise, play for fun, enjoy just getting your instrument out and just playing it and making lovely music, being creative rather than be worrying about other things that you think you ought to be doing or might have to do. I was thinking that classical music is not actually my favorite genre of music anymore. It's an equal. I love jazz and I love Latin American music. So maybe play and listen to different genres of music just to bring you a different perspective. So look at world music. There's a lot of joyful music out there. And then enjoy playing all these different sorts of music. Play for fun or just take time off. You know, we're always talking about work, 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 when taking time off is hugely important, just to let everything settle and to give yourself a bit of mental space. What I'm saying is mix things up, because resolutions don't always bring you joy. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. And when you talk about improvise, I had a conversation with my old friend, my old mate, Dave. Now, Dave is one of these guys that can play everything. That's what Daves do, don't they? I mean, if you've got a dog, well, actually, you know, the England football team at the World Cup, they adopted this cat and they gave it the name Dave. Dave is this sort of generic name, isn't it? And my friend is actually called Dave, and he's a piano player mostly, but he sort of honks around on everything. And what he does in the new year is very, very similar to what you said. He said he tries to get rid of all the cobwebs. And what he does is he writes lots of words in like a mind map type thing, just words all around. And then he'll just play the piano based around what he's feeling at that time on that word. So there's no notes. It's just so he's using his emotional response and making music, so improvised music based around that word. And I think what a great idea. Rather than using colours or anything else, he just uses a word. So it could be happy. So he plays something happy, and it could be snow, because it may be snowing. It could be being cold, and so what's coming up. And even if you can't improvise, you're actually making a sound, aren't you? And that in its essence is improvisation. So I think Dave and you sort of crossover quite happily. And Dave, sometimes you need to feel a beat. And if you're playing and you're improvising, often it's quite easy to improvise into the morose, isn't it? The sadness, because it's long notes and it is sort of having this little poem. You're creating this audible poem. But Dave said in his wisdom that if you feel a beat inside of you, it could be a heartbeat, it could be a samba beat, it could be any type of beat, and then have that word up and then improvise, all of a sudden you have this inner metronome going on. So dear old Dave. Dear old Dave.
Great ideas. Now, for those listeners who might find that just thinking of a word doesn't help them so much.
Absolutely, yeah.
That there are other things you can do, because there are a lot of people out there who are terrified of improvising. I can put myself in that group of people as well. I used to be terrified. I have done it, but it's scary at first. So if you give yourself some parameters, so it could be you could just say, I'm just going to take 3 notes. And I'm just going to mess around, play a nice tune, 3 notes. Any octave, that could work. Or you could just do based on an arpeggio. And just think about different rhythms, different dynamics, different colors, just to make some changes and see where it takes you, because that helps develop your skills. And what's great about not having the music in front of you is that you concentrate more on what you're actually doing, because your ears open up when you haven't got the sheet music in front of you. And that's what's great. It's what a lot of people say about playing from memory, is that without the music, it frees you up. I would say maybe create some parameters if you're not comfortable. You could look at a lovely picture, or look at the scene outside your window, or you could maybe just turn the radio on and listen to a piece of music and get inspired by the mood and the rhythm and the tempo of what you hear. Turn the radio off and then do something similar. It's really about this freedom of expression, not feeling that you're limited in any sort of way. And that is something very different from what we're doing normally, when we're normally sort of putting the music up on the music stand and being driven by what's actually in front of us.
Yeah, I like the idea of putting the radio on. Also, you can go onto YouTube, find a tune and play along to it. You don't have to play the theme tune, but you can if you want, or the lead line. Sort of harmonise, sort of play different parts of it, or play a counter melody along with it. It just sort of, it takes you on a different field, a different journey, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if you listen to a lot of music, I mean, for example, songs, doesn't matter what sort of songs, pop songs, jazz songs, choral, gospel, see if you can take a melody that you know and play around with that. Just think about, start with your melody and then just continue, see where it might take you. There is no limit. Another thing that I used to do, we used to call it noodling, like
Yes.
doodle,
Yep.
but
Noodle,
with flute,
yeah.
doodling. So you could start maybe in the low register, noodling around on the low notes, and then gradually work your way up to noodling in the upper low register, and then continue into the lower middle, into the upper middle, and noodle yourself up to the top of the middle register, and then noodle yourself back down again, and see if you can create a shape, because shapes are really important. You feel that you've got a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to be a square, do we? We don't want to be L7. We don't want to be pigeonholed into this little genre. I like the fact to noodle around, almost an air and variations, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember years ago watching Wissam, our great friend Wissam, and he was on live TV. It was a lunchtime live program. Now we're talking a long time ago. He had 5 minutes, and so he just improvised a piece live on TV. And it was literally that. He started in the low register, wandered up to the top, and then wandered down again. And it was absolutely stunning. Certainly that made me reassess how I improvised and to be a little bit braver and push the boundaries. And you can't go wrong in improvisation. You just can't go wrong. So I think that's one of the key things for 2023.
Is to noodle.
Yes, and anti-resolution. So remember, do something that brings you joy. Year after year, I've made resolutions, don't eat so much, do more exercise, practice more, go to more concerts, whatever it might be. And like you said, it sort of, they fizzle out, don't they, after a month? If you put into place some sort of behavior that can become a regular pattern, become your routine, it could really benefit your playing. Just improvise a day without music, even an hour, half an hour, 5 minutes without music. And think of it as to bring you joy, not to terrify you, but where you just play for fun, for yourself, not for anybody else.
It's behavioural changes we're after rather than aspirational changes, because unless we change our core behaviour. So, for example, a resolution, I'm going to practice more. Well, that means nothing, doesn't it? Because I'm going to practice more. What is the starting bit? If you're going to anti-resolution, I'm not going to practice more. I'm going to define what I practice. So I'm going to do, instead of 1 hour practice, I'm going to do 2 chunks of 30 minutes to enable me to focus on each one.
I think we're all guilty of making too general an idea, like I'm going to practice more, because like you said, it doesn't mean anything. You've got to define it. You've got to make it more specific, or else it doesn't mean anything. And then we need to be accountable. So maybe just put a note in your diary every month. Have you done something that brought you joy on your flute that month? If not, start again, or each week, what have you done? Or it might be, every Saturday morning or every Saturday, you get your flute out and just play for fun. It's up to each individual.
I like the fact that you bring that word joy in. Playing the flute is joy, because that's almost an anti-resolution in itself, because as musicians, as flute players, it should bring us joy, but it brings us so much angst in the course of a year, because we expect too much of ourselves. We expect too much of our interpretation. We're worried about what our teachers will say. We're worried about what the audience will say. We're worried about not creating perfection. But yet we forget the fact that it's all based around the need for joy, isn't it?
Yeah, but we lose that because there's a lot of pressure, and it doesn't matter what standard you are or whether you're just playing as an amateur or professional. There's a lot of pressure to perform. And, performance is very subjective. You might think, how many times you've come off a concert and said, oh, I wish I could do that again. It could have been so much better. Rather than finding the joy in the music and just having fun. We're entertainers, aren't we, as musicians? And we're there to entertain our audience. And the audience mostly haven't got a clue if you've made a mistake or missed something or cracked a note. They don't know. They just want to love it, to enjoy it, to have fun. So that's the key word for 2023, JP.
Fun and joy. I think joy really, because fun, joy, because you're exactly right. You can find joy in most things. So you may have had a really bad day practicing or may not have actually been able to practice. But there is joy. You can find joy within that. So it may have been a bad day. Your chops weren't working properly or your fingers weren't working properly. But there'll be something within that you can take away and get joy from.
Yeah.
There's always something that we can be grateful for.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just you're doing tone exercise and you just find something that sounds absolutely wonderful. Enjoy it. Take joy from it. You might not find it again, but enjoy it. Enjoy it while you have it.
Yeah, I won't find joy again. That's the story of my life, isn't it? You have one performance and then I think I used to get really cocky and say, well, I can do that piece again. And it's never the same. It's never the same. But it's because we live very much for our memories, and we sometimes won't play pieces or scared of pieces because we've done it before and it hasn't come out as we expected. And if we come out of this square and say, this 2023, we're not going to be inside a shape. We're going to try and find who we are. And it doesn't matter, as you said earlier, whether you are a new player or an established professional player. And there's lots of those that listen to this podcast. Break out of that square. Break out and just don't be a shape. Be a cloud, float around. As you said, improvisation. There is no way that you can be wrong in improvisation, because that is the nature of the beast, isn't it?
Be a cloud.
Yes, we should be a cloud, shouldn't we?
I like that. Sort of floaty.
Yes, really floaty and wispy. And because let's face it, if we're a big, heavy, dirty thundercloud, there's very little freedom there, is it? It's full of water and it's waiting to dump all its stuff on other people. There's no joy in a thundercloud, is there?
Okay, wispy white floaty clouds then.
Cool.
Good.
What's got into me? I've had too much alcohol over the festive period.
Obviously.
I've started 2023 on a good note.
To sum it up, rather than goals that might not be met, when you enjoy playing a piece of music, play for fun, take time off, just improvise, have a day or a time during the week where you have no sheet music so that you mix things up, because resolutions don't always bring you joy.
Do you know, that sort of encapsulated it entirely for me. Resolutions don't always bring joy. In fact, I can't think of a resolution that I've ever made that has brought me joy, which is quite strange, really, isn't it?
Very strange. So that's a good place to stop, I think, JP.
Oh, it
I'll
is.
start 2023.
Yes. I made no resolutions at all, apart from trying to be more grateful for more things, because we're living in weird times, aren't we? With the war in Ukraine and with the heating and the utility situation that it is. And I'm sure most of us can find happiness in a little tiny thing. And for me, I think I need to find more happiness and more joy.
Okay. And if any of our listeners, if they'd like to tell us about their resolutions and whether they stick to them and give us some ideas, then please write in. You can message us on our designated Facebook page, Talking Flutes, or Twitter and Instagram @Flute or @Clare Flute, and email flutepodcasts@gmail.com.
And we love to hear from everybody, don't we, Claire?
We do. We love getting messages in. So get writing. Help us out for 2023. What would you like to hear?
Yeah, and a happy new year to you all. And may 2023 bring you great joy, musical fulfillment, and may your top D, 4th octave, be especially in tune. What do you reckon, Claire? Is that possible?
I think banish top D. May your top D disappear.
See you soon, Claire.
Yeah, thanks, JP. Bye.
Bye.
Talking Flutes and Talking Flutes Extra are podcast productions by the Trevor James Flute Company. For more information, visit trevorjamesflutes.com.